This week I experimented with the learning management system Moodle. They have a lot of great demo sites to help you get a feel for it before you decide whether or not to use it. There was quite a bit I liked about it. One thing that definitely stood out to me is that it's free, or at least relatively cheap compared to other larger LMSs like Blackboard, Canvas. So that's really good if your district is on a tight budget. It's customizable. There's a lot of different features you can add on to it. It kind of gives you a baseline, and then you can pick and choose what you want from there. There is a lot of available add-ons to put on, which I think is both a pro and a con. That can make it kind of complicated to use. One thing I noticed about it is that it seemed very individual-centered, like from the viewpoint of a teacher, that you can really focus on and track where your students are at on an individual basis instead of treating everybody the same. You can select, certain individuals can move on to this next assignment only after they completed this checkpoint, whereas others might take longer to get there. And also another thing that I liked about, with the whole individual centered is that you can design your own course evaluations and questions through the site. And also, if you want to do a multiple choice, you get to both write the question and indicate what the different choices are going to be, and that could be really good for formative evaluations, perhaps even after each assignment, just to get continual feedback from each of your students on things that you could do better as an educator. So I think that's very helpful practice. Some of the cons are there's a lot of do-it-yourself type of work that needs to go on. If you're not too tech savvy, not too familiar with the functionalities of all the different add-ons that you can put on your Moodle, that's going to make it very, very difficult for you to use that effectively. There's just a lot of work that can put into it, and from what I gather, there's not a whole lot of tech support associated with Moodle, which is a con relative to other LMSs like Blackboard and Canvas that are pretty widely used. And also, there's a lot of people using it, and there can be a lot of people using Moodle at once in your school, and that could possibly crash the system from what I gather, which could make it difficult, if you're really, really relying on that for your assessments, quizzes, exams. A potential server crash could make it so that your students have to start over and their work doesn't get saved. That'd be really, really bad. If you don't have that server that can support a large number of students using it at one time. And another aspect of it that is unique and maybe a blessing or a curse depending upon how you use it is there's a chat function which is more instant messagey than the usual emails that you can send to peers and teachers via Blackboard and Canvas, stuff like that. So that's something to keep watch over. There's the potential for distractions, students having their Moodle up during class and chatting with each other via that way. But that's a consequence of almost any technology, so maybe shouldn't come down too hard on that. So how could this possibly be useful in a chemistry classroom or a science classroom, which is what I'm going into? One thing I really, really like that Moodle brings to the table, probably my favorite thing about it with regard to science, is that they have competencies and badges that you can give to students. The competencies being, you can design as many competencies as you want. Basically, that's just kind of a checklist that students can access with regard to their courses and individual subjects within each course, just to kind of see, how am I doing? And then perhaps, in preparation for a final assessment, they could look back at those competencies and kind of get an idea of, my competency is not so great in this area. Maybe I should focus more on studying that. So just kind of giving them that guidance, here's what you're doing well, here's what needs improvement, that they can continually go back and look over, I think is really helpful. And then badges. I'm not sure if that would be as helpful at a collegiate level, but for younger students especially, I think that system of rewards could be a really, really good thing. Just kind of give them a sense of satisfaction that they've mastered the concept. Yeah, so I think that system of rewards could be very helpful, I believe. And then also, Moodle, not sure if this distinguishes it from other LMSs or not, that there's a lot of material you can share with a broad network of people. There's kind of that global focus, there's this pool of information, everybody can access them, kind of like Canvas, which I talked about last week. Or I guess mentioned. Yeah, it's nice to be able to share with that large network of people. So yeah, all in all, I mean, the competencies and badges thing is great. I like it. Ultimately, beyond those things, I'm not really sure what Moodle brings to the table that's significantly better than other LMSs. So I think whether or not I would use it would largely depend on the cost, whether or not it's financially better in the long run. So I think that's probably what I would stake my decision on were it up to me, to choose an LMS for my own personal use in my classroom. But tough to say. Great site, but still ambivalent toward it. So those are my thoughts on Moodle. Thank you so much for listening.